Hello, everyone. Welcome to this interesting panel discussion. I'm Yolanda de la Fuente. I work as a professor in social work at the University of Jaén. I'll be the moderator of this panel session, which is called Training and Accessibility in Tourism. It's a very special panel, and we have Beatriz García, who will talk about the implementation of accessibility in tourism as a subject. We'll have another presentation on work that's being done at the distance university UNED. And then we'll have another presentation on a project about tourism training with Down syndrome children. I'm going to give the floor first to Alejandro, who's going to talk about his topic from the university, the distance university in Madrid. And he's also a researcher in innovation. It's very relevant at national and international level. He's very interested in issues dealing with accessibility and ITCs and their participation in the whole process. And also, he's the director of the channel, the UNED Foundation's channel at the UNED University, the distance university. Thanks very much. Yolanda, for your presentation and your invitation to this meeting to participate in this panel discussion and to share I'm going to share my presentation on the screen now.
Muy bien, pues os quería contar en muy poquito tiempo.
Just in the short few minutes I have, I wanted to talk about the concept of the UNED Foundation channel. This is through our online training for all people and to train professionals in accessible tourism. Now, the UNED channel is financed by the UNED Foundation on disability. It offers open online training for all people. The idea is to train professionals who are active now or in the future, and they design for all, for accessibility, and all the content is accessible. We have different courses underway, and we have a course called Accessible Digital Material, talks about how to generate accessible documents, text, images, videos, audio. Another is called Personal Interaction with Computers. This is for universal accessibility to computers. Accessible Housing, which speaks of the accessibility characteristics that homes should have, also applicable to the work environment. And active legal defense. This is social action where you focus on equal opportunities, the rights that all people have, whether they have disabilities or not, and how to defend their rights. Then we have another accessibility course that talks about legislation that requires all public institutions that everything they buy must be accessible. The computers, mobile telephones, photocopiers, anything that has any IT contribution that must be accessible. This is very important for accessibility around the world. In another course, con mobility and accessibility for all. And we have a course on accessibility in customer care. This is for in-person customer care and online care. All of these courses are in addition. These are all free and accessible courses. They're all electives. Now, all of our courses are accessible. We comply all the virtual accessibility criteria. And this is very important to bear in mind when we're putting together these courses. This is for the deaf people. Signing, all the our courses have sign language interpreter. And we also have courses for cognitive disabilities. We have easy reading text, for example. They can have it in the course in the original version or with an easy reading version. Easy reading is applied to text, the videos, and these self-evaluations. And the e-books also are accessible and comply with all of the regulations on accessibility. Now, what is the impact of the ONTE channel on the distance university? Well, more than 16,000 people have signed up for the courses. Approximately 18% have completed our course, and there's free courses, free online courses, and this is good because you can do it wherever you want, free of charge, but there's always the risk that when we sign up for something free, maybe we don't put much of our priority on it, or we don't spend much time on it. Typically, the financing is at 10%, or we're quite above that, and we're very happy. And also, there's an important percentage that have requested certificates for the course. This means that people are interested, and they think that these courses are useful to move forward in their professional life. So that's very encouraging for us. Another thing about the course is that the motivation is that this is relevant for my professional activity. That's why we believe that the courses that we offer are focused on needs. And another important thing is digital competence, for example, which is very applicable to how to properly use a text processor to generate an accessible text document. That's very important. Also, the fact of knowing how to use that document to edit text or to edit a video and put the subtitles in. These are basic issues today to make things more accessible in our digital world. Now, 7.1% of the people sign up are from Latin America, and more than 16% of those that sign up for the courses do express a preference or need, accessibility need. This is very important, we believe. Up until now, the availability of available courses online, accessible e-learning, was very low. We've transferred the online courses and the old problems that the university had in the traditional university, and we passed that right on to the online courses. So we've made an effort to make all of these courses accessible. So when we found that the people that need accessibility and see that the course is accessible, then they sign up. And things are going very well for them because we're analyzing the results, and we've seen that the performance of people with disabilities is very good. And some profiles even better than others, and we're learning from all of this. And I'll talk about that in a different session. And also, 68.6% of those that sign up are women. And I'll just give you a little bit more information, demographic information. Now, the courses have had an impact because they were selected by the state the state institution for employment as part of the course become digital. And this is free training. And then during the pandemic, the distance university together with the university in Catalonia and another Spanish university, they selected the courses for the channel for the university at home. And so that's my presentation. I just wanted to add a few thoughts about what we're talking about. First of all, to see how we can apply these courses to tourism. Training in accessibility is extremely important. Digital accessibility is part of the future, and everyone is asking us to become more competent in digital issues, but we have to take advantage of everyone's talent, including people with disabilities, and that are perfectly autonomous to do a lot of different types of work. That's why we really stress these types of projects to make everything accessible. Also, I wanted to stress that our courses do training in accessibility, but also in digital training. And that contributes to this change in the paradigm, industrial paradigm, that is affecting all institutions. And lastly, I would like to underscore the idea that our courses increasingly have content that's accessible to people with cognitive disabilities. They have often been left out of our accessibility efforts. And in this course, all of the teachers have a certain disability. It's a course which is especially rich in diversity. From the point of view of those that study in the course, approximately 16% do have a disability, and also on the part of the teachers. Thanks very much, Alejandro. We're going to move forward now. We'll retake that idea, which I thought was really interesting for our discussion, and we'll move on to the next presenter. Thank you. Thank you, Alejandro. Now, Beatriz has the floor, who is the director of a company that specializes in the organization of inclusive tourism, where they do a lot of things like they provide consulting services to companies on accessibility and throughout the whole value chain, with a view to being socially responsible and also improving the bottom line. And Beatriz is an important voice and has a lot to say about inclusion. And she has made her voice heard in the media, and so we're going to hear from Beatriz now. Thanks very much for the foundation for contacting me for this panel, which I think is extremely interesting. I'm going to share my presentation on the screen with all of you. Can everyone see that? Yes. I'm going to talk about two issues. One is the research that Yolanda talked about inclusion in tourism, and then the case of our company of providing opportunities in inclusiveness. Now, at the University of Seville, we look at the profile of the customer. This is in Andalusia and locally in Seville, where the university is located, and the benefits that inclusive tourism provides to society. We also study the inclusive tourism and university connection, and we did an empirical study on is possible incorporation of inclusive tourism into our tourism courses. The object, of course, is to implement this course for the training of professionals to be able to professionally address people with disabilities from a social responsibility perspective. Now, specifically, we analyze the real situation of training in accessible tourism in the community of Andalusia in official tourism studies. And the second objective was to get knowledge about year 4 students, and we're going into tourism, and to contact all the beneficiaries of this type of training. Now, why do we need to implement inclusive tourism or this course in our curriculum? Well, first of all, because for equal opportunities, we all have the right to enjoy our free time on an equal footing, and it's a good tool for people with disabilities to form part of society. It's a source of employment. It's also a business opportunity, and for professional ethics, it's an opportunity for entertainment. People often say that accessibility is an indispensable condition so that all segments of the population can take part. It's essential for 10% of people in Spain and for 15% throughout the world. That's the percent of people with disabilities around the world. That 15% is in only China. It's like a huge market, 15% of the world population. And this has a multiplier effect, and because it implies that when tourists arrive here, they need to rent a wheelchair or some other aid. And it's multi-client because people with disabilities normally don't travel on their own. They travel with their families or maybe with a professional or colleagues or friends. So there's a high degree of fidelity. If you offer an accessible service in your webpage, is a big advantage. And if you don't offer it, it's a real handicap for your business. And of course, to be socially responsible strengthens the image of your brand, of our product and services. And I always say, to being accessible is an investment in quality. It's not an expense, a business expense. It's an investment like we can invest in language for our professionals because German tourists are coming. This is other types of customers. They will also have to invest in training in our professionals. Now, by broadening, this helps to broaden also the possibilities for employment for people with disabilities. These people with disabilities can work in these services that we provide. And it's also a branch of specializations for professionals in this sector. First, in terms of execution, I might have a hotel or a travel agency, and I have a market that others do not have. And so I can be more specialized in that branch of my business. And also to favor the economic development of the of municipalities and to generate employment. Normally, these people with disabilities are beneficiaries of aids and so forth, and we can generate wealth in that sense. The first things that we did in research was look at if there was a class in the undergraduate or graduate courses, and we saw that there was only one class in all of Andalusia, and that was under psychology at the University of Almeria. And in the official masters in tourism in all of Andalusia, there's 6 different master's programs. There was only one optional class in tourism planning at the University of Seville. Now, in terms of the profile or the demographic breakdown of those that were surveyed, these were students in fourth year of their studies, and more than 80% were women. Now, of these women, most were between age 20 and 30. Almost all of them had studied in Seville, and more than 70% did not have any people with disabilities in their environment and didn't have training in accessibility, so they just didn't realize. In other words, what people aren't familiar with, it doesn't exist. So we asked them about their knowledge that they had on these concepts of inclusive tourism, accessible tourism, and so forth. And most had seen it, but they didn't really know much about it. So they didn't have a clear idea of what that was all about. Then we asked them if they thought that this class should be part of a master's course, or none of them thought that it shouldn't be included. Most said that it should be compulsory class for undergraduate studies. Others thought that it should be an optional course. And then we did an empirical study on whether the training that we were providing to our students would have an impact on the quality of their work. We made 4 hypotheses, and the first was that the training would have an impact on the quality of the tourist destination and professional competences, and which would in turn have an impact on the quality as well. And the result was that directly, the first hypothesis wasn't supported. We didn't have any scientific support, but the rest were supported. If there was a positive evidence in the hypothesis 3, and in the end, training would have a positive impact on the quality of the destination through this improvement in professional competencies. So conclusions. In this sector, there's not much awareness of the implementation of this activity in general, and even more so in the tourism sector. And inclusive tourism, we found that it was closely linked to organizations of people with disabilities at the university. At least in tourism, it wasn't a common topic. And then accessibility has to be seen as an intrinsic element of the tourism package, the tourism offer, to comply with regulations and also to offer quality tourism. Just to finish up, I should say I've been working in the administration, and I've been involved for quite some time now in this topic. And I've been working in the master's degree through the UNED Foundation, because I've always been working with people working in many different fields, but in tourism, not so much. So I came into contact with Cynthia, and that was a master's degree that I thought was very valuable. So there are not many professionals in tourism that are specialized in accessibility and inclusiveness. So we think that it's very important to have also to be aware of the legal regulations and to know the tourist sector, to know how it works and how it's organized. So we don't see this only as a lever for change. It's an investment that we make in favor of our customers by designing the whole value chain and making it accessible so that we can have good results, our good bottom line at the end of the day. And we want to train personnel. That's very important. You can comply with the laws, but if your personnel is not providing good services to your clients, then the business will not do well. So you'll get a poor rating. So personnel training is vital. And as Yolanda said, we have a whole catalog of services. And we're one of the few in the tourism sector that specializes in this. Of course, we do have the Fuente Foundation and others, but professionals in this sector that have gone down this path, there's really not many of us, just only a few. So I encourage everyone to get the training and to move forward with these types of initiatives. It gives me a lot of personal satisfaction, and I think those that are here to serve our customers and meet their needs, it's very, very satisfying. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Beatriz. This was extremely interesting. If there's something I'd like to take from your presentation is the importance of making companies aware of the return on investment on accessibility. And we'll be able to talk about this later on. Now, María Luisa Baringo has the floor. María Luisa is a mother. She says in her presentation, she's the mother of a youth. I think she's a young mother of a youth with Down syndrome, whose name is Salvador. She's concerned with the education not only of her son, but of all people with Down syndrome. She's an active participant in Granada's Down syndrome, among others. For over 6 years, together with her association, she was a member of the Master on People with Down syndrome at the University of Granada. For the past 7 years, she's the director of the project Free Tour Granada for Diversity. María Luisa, tell us more about the project that I think brings together everything we talk about during this panel. Thank you very much, Yolanda, and for the organization. I'm going to share my screen with all of you. I hope you can all see this well. For us, it's a huge pleasure to be able to present this Free Tour Granadown for Diversity. This is an innovative activity of tourism for everyone. It's comprised by a group of 14 young people who belong to the Down Syndrome Association Granadown at the city of Granada since 2014. It aims to promote and facilitate the knowledge of our city through the eyes of these young people. The innovative element is that the travel guides are people with Down syndrome. Our project is focused on what Gonzalo Berzosa refers to as cultural inclusion through culture. People with disability have a lot to enjoy and a lot to offer. Civic inclusion. People with disability needs to be agents of their own demand to have social relevance. They have to go out into the streets to be seen, to be empowered, to have resources. in that sense is why we favor cultural activities for everyone. So here you can see two of our travel guides leading a rather large group. We have groups of 2 or 3 travel guides. They go on their own to the meeting point, they get ready, and they welcome the participants. They use resources such as tablets or their notebooks. They tell simple stories about the city and their monuments. They use the methodology of easy read that makes possible the access to everyone, and they do it over the weekend on the mornings for around 2 hours. The bookings can be made through a website. They offer walking tours around the city. They also provide guided visits to relevant buildings in Granada. They also offer exhibit tours. They also take part in readings using easy read methodology, and they offer culture for all. They adjust to the needs of the group that may request this visit. For instance, you can see a picture offering a travel tour for people with limited mobility. They receive training every Friday afternoon for 2 hours. During the pandemic, this was done online. They also do travel visits, tour visits around the city and a region, and that's how they can elaborate or produce their own material that is useful for them before, during, after the visit. Well, we have disseminated what we do through different conferences, through television, radio. One of our members writes a blog called Salva en Ruta, a different outlook. And Argentina has acknowledged this project with a publication of the blog through a book called I Also Travel. They become active members of the city. Different organizations and public entities have acknowledged the work that these young people do. You can see here a list of the different foundations and public organizations that have acknowledged what we do. What have been the results? Well, the participants have felt useful, valued, rewarded, and we have received 2 awards. They can offer a different outlook on the city. They receive award on Realejo 2016 and Social Deep Grind 2020 that is offered by the regional government of Granada. If you would like to find out more about what we do, you can check our website that you can see on the screen. And you can also reach out to us through our email addresses that you can see here. The first one is mine, and the second is for a psychologist. And we're going to play a video. Thank you, María Luisa. We are now going to see a video that María Luisa has has provided us to see how this project works. Down Syndrome Association, Granada. With the Free Tour project, we intend to bring to life a philosophy that springs from our association, which is the inclusion of people with Down syndrome, their inclusion within family, within schools, to be one more member in their school, in leisure, in culture. This is a project for inclusive leisure, which is called Free Tour Down, knowing Granada, getting to know Granada with a different outlook. They train for over a year, getting to know the neighborhood. We started with the Realejo neighborhood, and they include the Church of Santo Domingo, the Olmedina. They show exhibits. What I like is to be a good travel guide, to show the monuments, to show churches. I feel happy and content to be independent and autonomous. Happy, showing my smile. And what's most important, to enjoy life. And then for all people with Down syndrome, that we're capable. I feel thrilled. I feel very excited to be able to collaborate with all of my colleagues. This project wasn't just rewarding for them, it strengthened them. It provided them with autonomy, empowerment, just having the opportunity to say, follow me, that fills anyone with joy. They're teaching, they're showing their culture. I love to show people the Realejo. I feel good inside. I'm very proud and I'm very happy. I feel very happy providing this free tour. What I like the most of the free tour is the Cuarto Real in Santo Domingo, and I love being with people. I feel happy. I feel proud. It's such a wonderful thing that they do. They're devoted to this work. It's obvious that they are well prepared. They're paying close attention. It's a unique experience. They're the ones that provide accessible visits, where people who weren't able to access certain monuments through pictures, they have shown images to the people. They're showing the reality of the abilities that people with Down syndrome have. Obviously, they are transmitters of culture, showing their heritage and showing their abilities, which is the most important thing. We have some time to discuss. First, I would like to make a question to Alejandro. Taking into account your presentation, people see this as relevant vocational training for their professional activity, all of this MOOC courses, this open training courses. There's something new that we have at the European Union level, which are micro skills, specific training for needed skills. I think this is a new idea that you launched in this panel, training on inclusiveness. What else could you offer besides tourism? Our courses, as you said, these are generic skills that can be applied to any field. We chose topics that can be interesting from different perspectives. For instance, within the courses that we offer, I could think of accessible digital resources can be useful for any type of company. For their customers, whoever they advise, if you make a website for your hotel, it needs to be accessible for people with disabilities who are potential customers. Regarding accessible digital resources, we train on how to make an accessible document, an accessible video. We also offer a course called Accessibility in Customer Care, where we offer a series of rules for accessibility in online and presential attention. We have this case in our courses where in a hotel they received the phone call of a deaf person. So they used an application that allows for a deaf person who usually wouldn't be able to use a cell phone. Well, the application reproduces in real time what the person at the hotel is saying. But at the hotel, they need to know that this application actually exists. We have another course on social activism, and it has to do with disabilities. Everyone has the right to enjoy their free time or accessible tourism. We need to make a call of attention into that. People need to know that they have a right and they can claim that right for themselves. I think we can find some type of relationship in everything, but specifically in those courses. Anyone who searches in your preferred Internet Explorer, Foundation Channel 11, you can find it. Thank you, Alejandro. It's quite impressive that over 18% of the people who begin those courses finish them, and that they request that certification, because the certification guarantees having those skills. Yes, Yolanda, I think people can find that this is applicable either for their personal or professional lives. I believe they're useful. Beatriz, as an entrepreneur on accessibility, and well, here in Andalusia, there are very few of you. What have you seen during this time, ever since you finished working at the public administration? Have you seen a bigger awareness, both in the public and private sector, regarding accessibility? Well, yes and no. Yes, with the 2030 agenda, with the Sustainable Development Goals, now companies seem to be aware and they use it in their communications that they care about sustainability. But sometimes they just they don't bring this into practice. But for instance, the government of Andalusia has created a 10-year position for accessible tourism. It seems that we are slowly moving forward on this, but COVID happened. So right now, this tourism sector is not thinking about investing, they're thinking about surviving. Before they used to say, well, if I'm just going to get just one customer with disability. Okay, Beatriz. We're going to give the floor to María Luisa. How do you see this project in the future? I think we have an opportunity to really have tourism with disabilities. What we intend is that their free time can be used in spite of any type of disability, of any type of specific needs. Through our project, we try to offer a response, an opportunity for adults that have finished their compulsory education. They can keep being trained to find job prospects. We have a couple of our tour guides of the young people that work in our group that have received their diploma as travel guides. It's an innovative project, and we want to welcome all of you to see this live. Thank you very much. You have lots of offers through UNED, through Beatriz. What she has shown to us as an entrepreneur, María Luisa. You're showing us a wonderful project. It was my pleasure to share this panel with all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.